An audio interface is a piece of hardware that is crucial to my home audio recording setup. It allows me to record vocals and instruments. It allows me to mix and master my recordings by helping to improve the sonic capabilities on my computer. On today's episode, we're going to talk about audio interfaces. That's coming up.
All for the dough. All for the dough.
What's up, y'all? My name is CNI and welcome to Wrap Ups. This channel is dedicated to helping motivated independent hip-hop artists make the best music possible so they can share it with the world, create an adoring fan base that can support you not only financially but throughout your creative process as well. But in order to do that, you're gonna need an audio interface for your home recording studio. In helping you get a better understanding of that, we're going to talk about the 6 most important features in choosing the right one for you. Number 1 is the analog digital converter. This allows you to take the electronic signal coming from your microphone or your instrument and turn it into a digital signal that your computer can understand. AD converters are best summed up into 2 sets of numbers: your bit depth, such as 16-bit or 24-bit, and sampling rate, anywhere from 44.1 kilohertz to 96 kilohertz and 128 kilohertz, etc., etc. But the most important 2 numbers here are at least the ability to record in 16-bit and 44.1 kilohertz. That's what we hear when we're listening to an MP3 or a CD. Number 2 is the number of microphone preamps. These preamps are what allow you to record your vocals and your instruments directly to the track on your DAW software. The onboard microphone preamps found on audio interfaces these days are generally of really high quality. After considering how many mic preamps you'll need, and keep in mind here, you only need to record 1 to 2 tracks at a time unless you're doing live band recording. Number 3 is the number of inputs and outputs. To be able to record something like a drum machine or a keyboard synthesizer, you would want to connect it to a line level input. There are 2 different types of inputs. There's a 1/4 inch input designed specifically for something like coming out of a keyboard synthesizer, and an XLR combination, which gives you the ability to record both from a microphone or directly into the 1/4 inch input. On the output side, as long as you have a stereo output and a headphone jack, you're golden. Number 4 is the interface type. Now, there are generally about 3 types that matter here. You have either a USB, a Firewire, or the one that I use is a Thunderbolt, and we'll get into that a little bit more later on. Number 5 is MIDI capability. Now, most audio interfaces and computers these days just allow you to hook this up via a USB port connection. That's how I use my keyboard setup going into my keyboard. So this isn't really something that you'll have to worry about as much these days for more modern audio interfaces. Number 6 is mixing capability. Now, some of these audio interfaces these days have like a virtual desk console that allows you to load up a preamp or a limiter or a compressor, something of that sort that allows you to affect the channel signal going into your DAW. You can also mix whatever you have coming in and also whatever you have coming out. But I personally don't recommend using their virtual desk. I would recommend using the one included in your digital audio workstation. With all that said, there's really only 2 audio interfaces that I can recommend. One, on the very low end, the Focusrite Scarlett Solo. Starting about $99, there's nothing fancy here. You get 1 basic mic preamp, 1 line input, a stereo output, and a headphone jack. It's for somebody that's just starting out with a very modest budget and doesn't have the ability to move up to the next step, which is what I personally recommend and I am using, and that's the Universal Audio Apollo Twin. Now, these come in 2 options. You have both the Solo and the Duo. And they're both great. The only difference is that the Duo is going to give you more DSP, or it's going to allow you to use more plugins. Now, I have the Solo, And to give you a better example of this, when I do mixing and mastering, and we'll get into that a little bit later, you'll see that I really can only use 3 major plugins, sometimes 4 at the most. This can be a little bit frustrating, and I wish I did have more DSP. The Duo allows you to have more DSP and allows you to load up and to use more plugins. Now, Universal Audio is probably my favorite plugin company for affecting audio. They have something called Unison Technology, which utilizes their microphone preamps and essentially emulates some of the world's greatest microphone preamps of all time. I personally use both the SSL 4000E and the Neve 1073 whenever I'm recording vocals, and I always put something like some type of limiter like the LA2A on the master bus as well, that affects the recording going in. But we'll get into more of that later so you can have a better understanding of why I do all these things. I just want you to kind of get a feel and an understanding of why I'm personally recommending this. It's about $7.99 to $8.99 depending on which one you want to get, and it's going to be more if you include more plugins. But personally, guys, there's really no shortcuts here, because even if you start off on the low end, you're eventually going to want to move up to something bigger, and that's where the UAD Apollo really comes in. And in my personal opinion, there's just nothing better for the money. So you will have to spend a little bit, save your money. This is something that you're going to need. Absolutely. So there it is, guys. Everything you need to know about audio interfaces, including my personal recommendations. Here's a quick little wrap up on the screen here, just so we can go over all the things that we talked about. And if this is your first time here, I'd love for you guys to subscribe. Go ahead and click that bell so you can get a notification every time I come up with a new video. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section below. If you guys are using different types of audio interfaces, I'd love to hear what types you guys are using. I'd love to hear whatever questions you guys might have. And let's get on into monitoring in the next video. So in the description box below, I will leave a description for the new track Getaway, as well as the personal recommendations that I have told you guys about for the audio interfaces. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Wrap Ups. See you guys next week.